Hello, and welcome back to Apaka Podcast. This is episode 4 of our Lore Drop series, where we go behind the scenes and explore the setting of our post-apocalyptic adventure before it starts. Today, we will continue exploring the continent of Kita Kita, focusing on the fertile southern plateau of the continent and the deadly scorpions that live there. The desert in the middle of Kita Kita sits in a sort of depression. So no matter which way you go, north, south, east, or west, you will either reach hills or cliffs. If you start in the middle of Kita Kita in the desert and start heading south, you will eventually reach cliffs. If I understand my geography terms correctly, once you find a way atop the southern cliffs, you will be atop a plateau. This plateau spans the continent from east to west, but is rather narrow north to south. It is a plains or grasslands kind of biome and is more fertile than the desert. If you keep going south, you will eventually reach more cliffs that abut the ocean. The reason you start to get more grasslands and things like that is because you are closer to the ocean, but the winds also play an important role. Now, we talked about the Western Mountain Range in our last lore drop, but as a reminder, the winds near Kita Kita typically come from the west. They hit the Western Mountain Range, which more or less runs north to south, and creates a rain shadow, which is the reason we have a central desert. However, the winds don't just stop at the mountains. What happens is the winds get split north and south. The winds that go south whip around the mountains and move over the ocean and pick up moisture. The moist air then moves across the southern coast, raining on the plateau, and that's where we get our grasslands from. It's nice. You get this fertile land, you've got more diverse plant and animal life, fruits and vegetables. You would think it would be a nice place to build a home. You would be wrong. The south suffers from a bit of a scorpion problem. Near the ocean cliffs, pretty much smack dab in the middle of the southern plateau, east to west, is a very large colony of scorpions. Now, I'm not talking about little tiny baby scorpions. I'm talking about scorpions the size of minivans scorpions. And they have some very unique, deadly properties, which we will talk about during episode 1 of the actual campaign. So there's this massive central hive of scorpions, and for some reason, scorpions keep coming out of there into the desert. If we get into a little bit of the animal behavior, basically what's going on is that the young scorpions are being pushed out by the old scorpions to find their own territory because the hive has reached capacity. Occasionally, a large scorpion will leave the hive and take some minions with him and try and find a new hive, but like most animals, the biggest and strongest is also the laziest. So they push the young out into the world to go find somewhere else to live, which keeps the south pretty dangerous, because they treat that fertile land as their hunting ground. Like the forests to the east, it is rare to find someone who chooses life on the plateau. However, there are a few nomadic warrior tribes. In fact, I'm fairly certain that one of my player's characters will be from the south, and I'm interested to see what kind of additional lore he brings to the table. So that is the southern plateau of Kita Kita and the deadly scorpions that inhabit the land. Not to be confused with the gang, the scorpions which control the desert. I probably should have thought that out better. Anyway, the next episode will finish our high-level overview of the continent, and we will round things out by finally talking about the east. I've also been working with one of my players, Relic, to create a world map based on these lore drops. I'm going to circle back with him, and maybe we can drop a preview of the map on Instagram. If you want early access to concept art like that, then please follow me on Instagram or Twitter at the ABCGM. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Apaka Podcast Lore Drops. This is the ABC Game Master signing off. I'll see you next time. Now, when we talk about the Western Mountain Range in our last lore drop, let's try that again. They hit the Western Mountain Range, more or less. Dang it. However, the winds don't just stop at the mountains. Whatever happens. Oh, gosh. Reading from a script is harder than you think. Harder than you think. Harder than you think. Yes, reading from a script is harder than you think. Let's try this one again. That song was for you, Catherine.